Welcome to the Real Though Show, the podcast with a purpose for the people. I am your host, Christopher Keith. You know, as always, we're brought to you by Queso. What? So if you want them quesos, you know where to get them. I already told you. Today we have a very special guest. This is the first time that we have an author on my podcast. I'm so excited about it because I love to read books. So this is really dope. Um, introduce you to Arthur. He has several books already, actually. He has When a Good Will Goes Bad, Meet Mr. Right, The Hands of Love, Everyone Has a Dark Side. And then his latest is Loyal to a Fault. Loyal to a Fault. So I've happened to read two of his books, which are really awesome, really great with the plot twist and everything. Keep you guessing, keep you off guard, and all the endings are dope. So I'm just telling you that right now. Well, anyway, welcome to the show, Mr. Scott.
What's going on, man? What's going on, bro?
Man, I'm glad to finally have you on the show, bro. It's been a long time since we talked about it. Brother Omar, actually, I got hip to his work. Well, let's see, I guess about what, 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. So inside
Mhm.
scoop here, you see, you wonder if you're looking at the screen, it says April Scott. Well, April is my cousin. So when they got married, when he and I finally met, man, we discovered we had a lot in common, and one of the things we had in common was books. So, so yeah, I was blessed that he was able to hook me up with a copy, of his books and stuff. So I was able to finally read them. I'm used to doing Audible a lot because I'm always on the go. So for his stuff, he ain't on the Audible yet. I'm waiting. He's gonna have to put his voice to it or use my voice or somebody's at some point. But so I had to go old school and read them janks. Although I did it on the Kindle. I did it on the Kindle. So
Yeah.
so anyway, man, welcome to the show, man. And so first of all, man, and checking out a little bit of your background, man. You got roots in LA. Your mom's from Harlem. And incidentally, Harlem is a place I got to visit a couple weeks ago for the first time. Absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Gentrification aside, and I understand it's gentrified, but I still got those blackety black vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that it was the stomping ground for our people. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful town. And to be able to walk on them streets. Anyway, that's my experience. I'm not gonna get into that. But anyway, and
No,
you,
nothing
and
wrong
you,
with that, man. That history, man, it's all there.
it is
It's
all there, man. And I felt it. It was tangible, like I could grab it. And then your dad's from Alexandria, Louisiana. So obviously you're like a lot of brothers where our family history are part of the Great Migration. And
right.
also lived in LA, man. So man, with all this conglomeration of backgrounds, man, what was your childhood and household like?
It was for the first 8 years, man, I was the only child, right? You
Okay.
know,
Wow.
and yeah, so I got everything I wanted. My dad and my mother had their own business. They had that Soul Glow, that hair care products back in the day, man.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
at a clothing store, man. So the money was kind of coming in a little bit, man. We taking vacations. I was a well cultured kid. Like I said, I'm from L.A. My mother's from New York. I went to Louisiana. Man, I hit all four corners of the country.
Where were you living when you first started coming up? Your first 8 years?
Los Angeles.
You was in LA. Okay,
Yeah. Hmm.
okay. All right. And so then you end up having a couple siblings, and so how old were you when you had to start, I guess you were 8 when the next one was born, you had to start being a big brother.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
So obviously that was a change for you. You used to getting everything you got. You had to start sharing. So what was that like?
Man, I didn't really have a problem with it. Cause I just never was really that kind of kid, you know what I'm saying? Cause I had, even though I was only kid, we had a pretty nice sized family, and so I had a lot of cousins and stuff like this right here. And we all spent time around each other and that type of thing. So, sharing and stuff like that and looking out for my younger siblings, it wasn't that big a deal, especially because it was a huge age gap, and
Mm.
you get a new baby and it's almost like getting a new puppy, right? You just want to play with them and have fun and stuff like that.
You get to burp it, you get to change it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, it was all fun. Mhm.
Okay, all right. And so did you have the responsibility of having to take care of your kids? I mean, take care of your siblings as an
Yeah,
older brother?
because my brother and sister were like a year apart, right? So
Mhm.
when my brother was born, I mean, my parents kind of was split up then, and divorced maybe a year later. And so, and you probably know, man, them Reagan years, man, those some tough years for some brothers out here, man. Them '80s, man, wasn't tough,
Early
but no
80s,
joke.
early 80s, yes. Yeah,
And
you were in the hot spot where they dropped them guns off and all that. Yeah.
yeah, and so my mom really needed me to step up. You know what I'm saying? Because times were tough. She had to have a couple of jobs, man. So hey, I'm gonna leave this food on the stove for you, man. I need you to cook it up and hook it up and feed your brother and sister, you know what I'm saying? Walk them to school, stuff like that. So, I was handling it up early, man. So, very Michael Jackson to me, man, to have that childhood kind of go past
Mm,
me, and go on up to the adulthood very quickly.
yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
I can imagine that. Yeah, yeah, because I guess, man, after eight, man, shoot, and then you talking about two siblings, man, and you just going into being, by the time they get a little bit big, shoot, you're a teenager.
Exactly. Exactly, man.
Yeah, so they
Mhm.
kind of crap in your style a little bit, huh?
You know what? That was the tough time, when those '80s and stuff like this right here. And my mom going to work. She's like, okay, well, you got to watch the kids and stuff like this right here, right? So just
Hmm.
exactly as you say, all day long, especially in the summer, man, I got to sit here and I got to watch them. I got to be at home and stuff like this right here, man. So, uh, you know, that's kind of where I got my creativity, right? Because I used to watch a lot of TV back then, or read, or listen to a lot of music and videos and stuff like this right here. And that's where I really got my taste, for life. You know what I mean, with the different
Hmm.
types of things that I like and stuff like that. I had to develop that because I had to spend a lot of time along with them, and I didn't get to go outside as much as everybody else did.
Yeah. So yeah, your bio talks about when you started being able to go outside. So being in LA and everything, the early 80s, man, that you gravitated, toward the gang and crime life, man. So, what was it attractive to you about that?
Well, about that time, that's when we moved to Dallas, right? And
Okay.
okay, and so, but same thing, and you know, um, when you're a little kid and you growing up, man, nobody kind of thinks, hey, man, I want to be involved with some hard heads, some gangster stuff like this, and run some streets, man. But you just like you want things, So everybody has the brand new Chuck Taylors on or the brand new Nikes or whatever, and you just want that the simple thing. I just want to get a soda or get a hamburger from McDonald's or whatever, and you ain't got no money. So how am I gonna get it? You know what I'm saying? I got to
Mhm.
find some kind of way to hustle up and give me some ends. And the only the only people that I knew how to do that, were those kind of them older kids, them older kind of father figure kids, man, that kind of took you under their wing, even though they were like teenagers themselves.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
they do the streets, man, and be like, hey, we hook you up and stuff like this right here, or we show you the ropes, and that's how you start picking up those things. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you know me or my friends or whoever went out looking for trouble like that, man. I just think that's from my point of view, that's how it basically started. It's just I want some things. I want nice clothes or this or that, and my parents can't afford them for whatever reason because of the struggle, whatever. I want a nice meal. I want a ice cream cone, whatever, and I don't have no money to go do it.
Yeah,
So
because by
how?
this time your parents had split up, right?
Yeah, yeah. By that time, my parents had split up, and then lost the business and stuff like that, and so they went their own way, and it was tough. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
tough, man.
Yeah. For all you young people who don't know, so he dated himself a bit. Uh, Chuck Taylor's are canvas Converse.
Exactly.
But in the 80s though, I mean, by the time the 80s came, you actually get you some Dr. J's, which were the
Yeah.
leather Converse with the red
See?
white with the red star on it, right? You
Mhm.
remember that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then like in 85, that's when the Jordans came out, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Did you
about eight, yeah, mid
did you
'80s.
about to enjoy life trying to get the Jordans at, I think they were $65 if I the first ones that came out, if I recall.
Man, Chris, man, by the time I got some Jordan, man, I was like a 30-year-old man, man. Come on now. I ain't
Well,
never
you
had no
weren't
money for
hustling that
Jordan.
good, man. If you could get no Jordans when you was 30.
No Jordan, man, till I was an older guy. You know what I mean?
So, man, were you able to fly under the radar? When you was kind of into the crime life, man. Hustling and whatnot, or did you get in any kind of trouble, or were you able to avoid that?
No, man. I mean, I got into trouble, and I think that's what kind of straightened me out, man. Say like right here on my shoulder, right?
Hmm.
I had I had gotten to an accident, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, we stole something, and right afterward we went to a store, right? I smoked a joint, and I got high, and I went and opened the hood of my car, right? And opened the radiator because I thought my radiator was leaking. And that radiator, man, shot up and burned third degree
Mm,
all over my chest, man. Actually burned some sense into me, man. That's why I call it like my second birthmark.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It burns some sense into me, man. Cause I'm like, man, and I always thought, man, maybe that's God's way of telling me, that you on the wrong path here. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not what you should be doing or what I got for you. I got something better for you. I don't know what it is that you doing over here and all this stuff right here when you capable of so much more, you know.
Well, that just means then that, yeah, you were ingratiated into it, but it really wasn't your thing, because I was going to ask you what precipitated, the before and after. So literally the before and after, the difference between that was the radiator incident.
That's the after. So, before Chris, man, I think, man, probably like a lot of kids, I was just trying to fit in. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
Like I'm from LA. I talk different. My dad's from Louisiana. We moved to Dallas, and we moved. And then when my parents split up, we moved a lot, right? You know what I'm saying? We moved around, so I didn't really get any type of roots in any community I was living in. So I always had to like make new friends and always try to fit in new places and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And a matter of fact, man, I remember the worst woman I ever had. I was like about 8 or 9 years old, man, and it was a little group of kids that I was hanging out with, and they're like, "Man, we gonna go to the store, man, and get some candy, right?" And my mom had just gave me an allowance, so I had like $5 in my pocket, right? And they
Hmm.
like, "Man, but we ain't got no money." And I'm like, "All right, come on, I'll go with y'all." And they are swiping a Snickers or whatever, but it just happened to be me that get caught swiping the Snickers, right? And I got the money in my pocket. I
I
could
was
have
gonna
bought.
say, hey, you got $5 in your pocket.
Yeah. And maybe man, and that was a merciless woman, man. But you know what I'm saying? And I deserved it. I can't even lie, because it was dumb. It was really dumb to do that, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I was talking about, man. That you just at the time, like I said, we moving around. I was a kind of a different kid, you know what I'm saying? My interests were different, the things I like, the movies, the songs, stuff like this right here. And so to try to fit in with other people, I tried to, be like them, try to do the things that they was doing. And, and got caught up several times, including that burn on my shoulder.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
So so then after that, man, so how old were you when you just start discovering your love for writing? And how did that even come about? I asked that question because I've written on and off my whole life. Like, I used to write poetry. I did it as a kid. I did it as an adult. I actually started maybe two or three books in my lifetime, but they weren't fictional. They were all nonfiction stuff. But I could never finish. You know what I mean? Like, I could start something, but I could never finish. So I already got a ton of respect for you, because you not only finished one book, you finished at least three. Which is really saying something about your discipline, man. But to do that, there has to be a fire that really kickstarts you, into that, to the creative field, to actually see that through. Especially like, okay, so you ain't hustling and you ain't trying to get a regular job per se. You know what I mean? Or at least you're making room for that creative space. So how did that come about, man?
Uh, you know, I couldn't put my finger on it and say one small thing that did it, you know what I'm saying? But I could say this right here, like even going back to high school and stuff like that. Like my best subject was English, man. It was English. I could read Macbeth or read Mark Twain and all stuff like this right here, and I knew it, and I could break it down stuff like this right here. And so, if they asked to write a paper, man, I used to be able to write papers very easily, because still
Mhm,
could. And I could
mhm.
bang out 1,500 words now if you gave me a subject and say, "Hey, give it to me." Uh, but I don't, and I remember probably the first time I really got an idea of it was remember they used to have like Right On magazines. Remember the magazines these
Yes,
back in the day?
yes, yes.
And
Cynthia Horner was she was a writer and then she became the editor. And I like Cynthia Horner because she used to get all the dope interviews.
oh, yeah, yeah.
She had interviews with Prince, she had interviews with the Jacksons and Michael Jackson. So anybody that was anybody, Cynthia Horner, if she wrote it, I was reading it. Believe that.
Yeah, yeah. And so around that time, man, they used to have like a short story in the back of it. I don't know if you remember that. Like it'd only be like maybe 5 or 6 pages, and
Okay.
I can't remember. It was Right On. It was like 2 or 3 magazines. They were kind of like all the same little
Hmm.
genre right there, right?
Hmm.
And I just know Right On was the first one that popped in my head. But they used to have like a little 5, 6 page little short story in the back of it, and I remember reading that short story right about the time I was in college, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, man, I didn't know that all the books that I had read before then were all school related, right? You know what I'm saying? And had nothing to do with my people or anything that I could identify with. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm reading about Huckleberry Finn and Moby Dick. I can't identify with none of that stuff, right?
Hmm.
But I read this story, like, man, this is a pretty dope story, you know what I'm saying? And it was a little sexually charged. I'm like, man, I ain't know they could write about, I ain't know you could write about stuff like this, man.
Right. Why they
And
trying to ban books these days? But yeah, you turned out all right, didn't you? Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go there, but go ahead.
exactly. And and so I remember doing that, man. And I remember I was, like I said, I was going back to college, but I was trying to go for allied health because I was trying to be an X-ray tech, right?
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, they make you take the prerequisites, right? So you got to take language and math and all this stuff. So
Right.
I'm taking language class, and we had to write exactly, and we had to write, you know, short stories and stuff like this right here, or they would have exercises, like they would play a music from a song, and okay, give me a short story about what you think this song's about, man. And that's where I started writing. I had my little notebooks. I still got them, where I would write a quick story about something, whatever it was. And my cousin, who's also from California, and from Compton, and he said, "Man, I'm gonna write a book, and I'm gonna write a book about all the stuff I've been through and all that, right? And which is probably something that a lot of people want to do, right? They want to write their own personal story,
Hmm.
and it made me think about it too. And but I was like, man, my story was good, man, and I could write a biography if I want to piss everybody off. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
everybody's
Spill
not
all
gonna
the
be
tea,
happy with what I
spill
write.
all the tea, as they say.
Exactly. Uh, so, but my cousin was telling me about that, my cousin Dash, and I was like, man, that really sounded like a good idea. And I had those notes, and I just remember, one of the short stories that I had wrote. I thought, man, this could make a great book. And I just started. I leaned into it, and I just started writing it and writing it and writing it. You know what I mean? And I gave it to my spouse at the time. She was like, well, I think this could be a book. This sounds like some of the books that I've read.
Hmm.
And at the time, all I had read was those Right On magazines or something, a little short. And she
Hmm.
gave me this book called The Coldest Winter Ever, right? And so I read that,
Sister
and
Soldier,
I'm
right?
like, yeah,
Sister Soldier.
yeah, Sister Soldier. And that put me over
Cold
the top.
book, by the way. Cold ass book, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, so for me, I remember like yourself. So I guess I wasn't again, I was always on the nonfiction tip. So yeah, I was usually writing something about life, and it could have been, how to deal with adversity, depression, or whatever, or just ways to live a better life. The first books I started reading, I remember, was the first one was Waiting to Exhale. The second was Invisible Life. I believe that's Elin Harris. And the reason I read that book was because I was working at Enterprise Rent a Car at the time, and there was a lot of gay black men in my area, was national reservations. And I just said, I wanted to read something that had to do with something that wasn't about me. You know what I mean? I wanted to
Right.
read someone else's perspective. So I knew these gay brothers, and I was never homophobic or anything like that. But I also didn't feel like, well, I was really knowledgeable or anything like that. And at that time, a lot of the brothers they was cool, but they kind of hung out with each other, maybe because of the discrimination and how, black folk tend to act, especially then, towards gay people. So I read that book uh just so I could, read from a gay man's perspective. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if I could
Yeah.
just get anything out of it that'll help me relate to these brothers, and be an ally, if you will. So and then I started getting into like The Coldest Winter Ever, uh Cupcake Brown's book I read later on. Did you read her book?
No, I
A
never
Piece of
read that.
Cake. A Piece of Cake.
Piece of cake. Okay, I have to check
Piece
that
of
out.
Cake, Cupcake Brown. A must read, especially you being from LA. A must read. So man, so how did you get hip to Timbuktu? I saw that you submitted a story to them, man. Uh, called Troubled Waters. How did you get hip to them? And what was Troubled Waters about?
You know, that's when so let me just set it back up, all right. So I got a job. I quit going to the college, for the allied health, right? And I, got a good job. And then, once I felt like I wanted to start writing, man, I went back to college some years later, right? And I went to and took up creative writing, and um that's when I met my professor, right? Who was had seen some of my notes, seen some of my short stories right here, and had encouraged me to submit them to different types of websites, different types of like Writer's Digest or the Reader's Guide or things like that. Different or Timbuktu places where you could like submit work and kind of get a feel like this are people feeling where you're coming from, and they had contests and things like that. And if you win the contest, then they'll post it for the month, or they'll make
Mm-hmm.
you're for the month of July, you're the author of the month, or your story is this right here. And so one of those sessions I was telling you about, I when I was in class, and we had different types of short stories. Like I said, they used to play music sometimes, and sometimes they would just give you like a topic and say, okay, talk to me about this, write something about this. And one of them, the story that I wrote for Timbuktu was called Troubled Waters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a very refined chef, French chef, very arrogant, very pompous, but immense, capabilities, and who could cook and do anything, right? And he was hired by this group of aristocrats, man, these very well-to-do people,
Mm-hmm.
and they all had went to Mount Everest years before, right? And were stranded up there. And so and when they were finally saved, part of their routine every year is once a year they would get together, they would rent a yacht, they hire a cook, and they go out and they would celebrate the fact that they survived this Mount Everest trip, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they hired my man
Mm-hmm.
to come in there and be the next chef to cook for him. But little did he know that while they were stuck in Mount Everest, they had to resort to cannibalism to survive. And they bring the chef in not to be the cook, but to be the dish.
What? Dude, I'm gonna
Yeah.
need you to send that to me. I'm gonna need you to send that to me.
Yeah.
Oh God. Don't even tell me nothing else, dude. I
Right.
need you to send that to me. Wow.
Yeah. And so that got me jump started. I submitted that to Tim Book too, man. They said they liked it. They made me, my story, the story of the month. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago. It's been like 12, 13 years ago. And so I won that. I was like, man, that people actually like my work here, man. Because like I said, I had a real different type of, storytelling. I do write street stuff, man, but I can write, supernatural, some crazy stuff, some Twilight Zone type stuff, or better, some Rod Serling type stuff.
Obviously. Yeah. So
Yeah.
speaking of your later book, so you kind of went from being involved in criminal activities, turning your life around, and then you start writing about the criminal life. Okay, so why do you think that style appeals to you as a writer,
Yeah,
artistic?
the style mainly appears to me, Chris, for this reason, right? And it was because, when you read books about stuff like this or you watch movies, the characters are usually so one-dimensional to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Tony Montana and Scarface. He's just a bad guy, man. He's just shooting up
Mm-hmm.
stuff and just snorting cocaine everywhere. You don't really have any type of bearing as to where he's coming from or what he's been through. They didn't give you no background like that. They didn't really dive deep into his personality and really show you his psyche and stuff like that. Because to know that would be to to stop Tony Montana from existing, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you can have more opportunities. We can write this right here. We can understand this type of person or this type of personality in the beginning. And, what I'm saying? We can make ourselves a better society, by embracing people, not shunning them because of their differences, because of how they raised, because of their economical background and stuff like that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the initial thing. But the main thing is that I had a friend like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So towards the end, I had my friend and we were in high school together, right? So because I wouldn't always run those streets nothing like that. My mom wasn't having all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were actually pretty good kids up until junior high and stuff like this right here. We were going to school, man. We were straight A students. We, like I said, I'm reading all those books, man. We in all the extracurricular activities, playing football, playing basketball. And my buddy had, both parents, Chris, you know what I'm saying? He had both parents and a house, man, and he was a good kid. And in the end, he died at 20 years old, man. He got shot up in a drug deal that went bad, man, and he got lit up under his car. And like that's a story I wanted to tell. I wanted to tell how a person can get from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Because what I'm saying? Because when I knew him, he wasn't a bad guy. And he
Mm-hmm.
didn't start out that way. You know what I'm saying? But he
Mm-hmm.
wound up doing some bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I always fascinated to me, that I wanted to dig into and really, kind of shine a light and, what I'm saying, and put my own sort of twist on that, how can a person get caught up like this, How
Yeah.
can one situation can lead to another situation, lead to another bad decision, another bad one, until you find yourself clinging to life, man, or in a cell for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting, man. So yeah, we're talking to in case you just joined us, we're talking to Omar Scott, author, and his latest book is Loyal to a Fault. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. All right, thank you. We're back with Omar Scott, author of his latest, Loyal to a Fault. And you were talking about developing the characters, which is something I really enjoy about your books. All of your characters are really multidimensional. And when we start talking about like, so in this book, it's sort of similar. It's to me as a reader, it's around three people. You got Dez, you got Chops, and you got Pia, and then maybe a fourth mystery person in El Cazador. Did I pronounce that right? The way you wrote
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you got it.
And so Chops is our gangster, if you will, and he's really a multidimensional guy. He does although he's in the crime business and everything, he's also very benevolent. He's a family guy. He really cares about his community, and so I really was able to pick that up in your writing. So obviously, this is something that was important to you, was to humanize these characters. Talk about that? Like you alluded to a little bit before when you talked about Tony Montana, which I thought is a great example of that. Uh, so what inspired you to humanize the characters?
Yeah, with Chops, with all three of them,
Mhm.
I I gave them all a struggle. You know what I mean? And people handle struggle in different ways. You know what I mean? Some people, the struggle brings out the best in them, and some people it brings out the worst. And that's what I think, that I think the world is like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
we all get hit with something every day, man, but it's how you respond to it that molds and shapes your character. And so, that, to me, that's how I saw these three. With both men without a father, but totally two different ways of how you would handle that situation. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
But Des going off and he joining the army, and then he winds up going to DEA, and him and his friend have this bond. You know what I mean? And which leads to his reason for trying to solve his friend's murder, and then Chops is he's a guy who had never really been in love before,
Mhm.
and he,
Yeah, yeah.
he I
That
mean, when
was
it
heavy,
hits
by
you,
the way. That was heavy. And I love
yeah,
the way you showed his vulnerabilities. And
yeah.
that, you know what? And I'm gonna tell you something, Omar. Like, okay, so I'm a person who absolutely loves art, okay, in all forms. And when you think about storytelling, back in the day, everything was kind of black and white. You got the hero, you got the villain, you got the white hat, you know what I mean, the dark horse or whatever, right? And so, like you said, those characters one dimensional, and then it kind of transformed to where, okay, they're a little more dimensional, but it will be the is it protagonist, you would say?
Yeah.
Yeah, that person will be more humanized. So in today's writing, though, and what you really do well is all of your characters, whether they're on the good side or the quote unquote bad side, like it's irrelevant. They are humanized. They're all complicated. And I find myself rooting for all of them. Like, honestly, as I'm reading a book, I'm rooting for all of these guys.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. You 100% on point there. I've always thought about that, right? I always thought, man, that this, like, the world is more gray than we give it credit for. It's not black and white. It's not Mother Teresa and Charles Manson on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The majority, you might have those, but the majority of the people, man, are in this morally ambiguous situation, right? Where, we have we try to do the right thing, which
Mhm.
I love the cliche, right? That the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes, yes, it's a good one. That really
Yeah,
applies.
yeah, it really, and I think it applies to this story too. You know what I'm saying? Because you started out. Everybody starts out with good intentions. Like I told you when I was out there, and we want the candy. We just want
Mhm.
to. I just want a Big Mac, mom.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a Big Mac.
right.
And it was just good intentions. It was nothing nasty enough, and then it it snowballed into something else for some people. And then the other kid over here, he has a lemonade stand, and that's how he got. And so some of this is the guidance too, right? You know, which is also pointed out in the book. Which, to me, one of the most powerful things in the book, right, is Dez's relationship with his father, and his, and how he came to reconcile that. You know what I mean? Because there's so many broken relationships with fathers these days.
Mhm.
We have a whole
Mhm.
generation of black kids
Mhm.
that were raised without one. You know, and and to me, that's part of the problem. Part of Chops' problem. you know, didn't
Yeah,
have a
and
father.
and the funny thing is like I was saying, kind of, um, even like if you look at a show like Snowfall, right? So,
Mhm.
Franklin is in the crime gang, is his relatives. And you're totally rooting for Franklin, right? Even as a criminal, which is okay, right? But you're never rooting for the police guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. So for the things that you write, you like, I mean, I personally like all the people, no matter what. So normally, somebody's going to be the favorite. So in Snowfall, Franklin's the favorite. You know what I mean? Unless you like, my man with the Jerry curl. So look, inside story. So inside story. Obviously, I haven't seen any episodes in a few months. A friend of mine in LA named Emil, we made a deal last night that we would not watch any of Snowfall until the end because we just wanted to binge watch, and then we're gonna have a conversation about it because that's what we always do. So his wife Kim didn't think we could do it. She's like, "Nah, y'all gonna be doing it because people gonna be talking about it, blah 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 blah." And when she said that, I'm like, challenge accepted. You know what I mean? so,
Yeah.
but when you look at that show though, like I said, you with Franklin, you with his uncle, his sister, all of that, like his mom, all of that, but you ain't got no love for the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how a
Right.
lot of the stories are written. But again, you're able to do something to where, man, all your characters are likable, no matter what they're doing, because they're human. They're complicated, which is mankind.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point because I love Snowfall. I've seen it all the way through the end, but I won't ruin it for you.
Wait a minute, you ain't seen the new season get ready to start.
Yeah, yeah, I seen it. Well, I'm seeing it to the end of this
Yeah, I'm
latest.
caught up. No, I'm caught up. I'm
Oh,
talking about this last season. We're not watching none of it until it get to the because it's the last season.
oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
I
and
think it starts tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
it does.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
that's
Oh, on
awesome.
Thursday. It might start Thursday. It's tomorrow, Thursday. But we said we were not gonna watch any of it this last season. We just gonna wait. And at the very least, we might wait until there's one more episode left, then we'll binge watch and just in time for the last episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so,
and,
so,
I
so
like Franklin. And you know what? Matter of fact, me and my wife were just talking about this other night, right?
mhm.
With my daughter. So we was talking about power. I don't know if you're a power guy too, but power and
I'm not
Snowfall.
I started off a power guy. In my opinion, the writers got really lazy.
They
And
did.
I don't know whether they changed writers because I know a lot of series change writers throughout seasons. But it just became unbelievable to me. So I was a big Power fan. I was a big Power fan. But again, I'm the kind of guy you can't insult me as a consumer of the art because if I'm
Yeah.
gonna rock with you, I'm gonna rock with you. And if I'm rocking with you, then I'm rocking with you based on your creativity, based on your sophistication, based on your imagination to make the shit believable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you start me off that way, see what I'm saying? And that's what Power did. They started me off that way, but then they started tripping. BMF is doing the same thing. Started off one way, and now it's tripping. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and even with Snowfall, it started doing that when John Singleton passed. But then when Walter Mosley got in on it, then it started coming back up again. I mean, that's Devil in the Blue Dress. You know what I'm saying? That cat can write. So
You're right.
he can write. So he's gonna tell a freaking story. You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like for me, like, dude, like I'm gonna tell you, like, for instance, and I want to talk to you about this before you go. So when you talk about like the Wire, right, which is the GOAT for me. So,
Yeah. I
like,
put it
say for
there.
instance, so when Wallace gets killed, man, like, dude, I'm hurt. Like, I'm hurt for real. I'm not saying
I wouldn't have hurt for Wallace.
no, no. I
Only
was hurt for Omar too.
only because he should have never came back.
He should no, no,
He
no.
should
I'm
have
not
never came back.
saying I'm not saying he didn't get what he was gonna get. That's not what I'm saying. What
Right.
I'm saying is he was like, "Come on, man, it's me, yo. It's me, yo, man. I'm your boy, man. Come on, man. Come on, man." You know what I'm saying? Like the way he,
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
oh, I felt bad. And when Omar got killed, I was like, so what I'm saying is, so when a character, I give you another example. A
Oh,
Raisin in the Sun, the original Raisin in the Sun.
yeah.
Every time I see that, it was a couple years ago, maybe about a year and a half ago. I was over my sister's house in St. Louis. and we were just kind of on vacation. We're watching the original Raising the Sun, and they're at the end where Sidney Poitier, Walter Lee, is talking to the white guy about why they not gonna take his offer to not move into that house and take his money.
Mm-hmm.
And when he starts talking about, this is my sister, she's gonna be a doctor, and this is my son. You know what I mean? And so, like, when you see Walter Lee's transition from what he was, a spoiled, whiny little brat, to becoming the man of this house, dude, I started crying. Like, and my sister's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing's wrong. I've seen this so many times, but it still gets me because I believe it. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what art is for me. I believe it. I believe he's Walter Lee, you
Right.
know, and so art touches me that way to this day. Like to this day. That's why I love reading your book. That's why I love your characters, because it's the art. Because art, again, it's relegated to life. And you can learn so much. There's such an exchange of information, of spiritualism, of lessons. You know what I'm saying? Just like in music. It's the same way with music. A
Yeah.
song for every thought, feeling, emotion. You name it, situation, it's a song for it. Hell, it's 10 songs for it, if not more. So that's what I mean about Snowfall. Again, everything would be believable, and then to a certain point, that shit would never happen. You know what I'm saying? And my wife gets mad at me because she be like, it's just a show. No, it's not just a show. Not if you start off that way, if we just Bruce Willis and Die Hard, you know what I'm saying? If we doing Terminator, then that's what I'm here for. I'm here for it. When I went to go see Top Gun Maverick, I knew what to expect. We finna do these
Right.
stunts. We finna do these flyovers. It's gonna be dope. Some dog fighting in the air, some cold ass, impossible ass flights. When you watch Fast and the Furious, they're gonna be on that long tarmac. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna do some impossible shit
Yeah.
with the car. But that's what I came for, because that's what you said you was gonna give me, from the beginning. But then you start changing the shit up. You know what I'm saying? On these serious shows I feel like I know these people. And that's part of the fantasy. So, like, for instance, I don't like to watch shows like when I finish Queen Sugar, which I think is the quintessential for me, Queen Sugar is the quintessential series on the Black family.
Okay.
That's my opinion. But when I finished it, you know how they get on the panel and they all talk about the characters and all that kind of shit. I don't like to
Right.
watch that because I want to stay in the fantasy.
You want to stay in the moment.
I want
You
to
want
stay in the
to,
fantasy,
yeah.
right? Hollywood gonna be Hollywood, Nova gonna be Nova. You know what I'm saying? Like when I see you on the next show, then that's cool. We'll get to that. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm so invested into a piece of work, then that's what I want the work to be. Like because I'm buying into that vision.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny you bring that up, man, because my professor, Laurie, had told me that about that when developing the characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and she was like an ordained minister and a Christian, right? So she didn't read the kind of stuff that I wrote,
Mm-hmm.
but I was telling her, I'm like, man, what if he did this? What if he like I don't know if he strangled his mom or kicked the kid down the stairs or whatever. And she like, you know what? If his character is somebody that would do that, then it's okay for you to write that in there. Matter of fact, it would be preferable because you got to stay true to the character. Whatever the character is, stay true to that character. Don't make him to that dude and then have him flip and do something totally different. Make the character true. You know what I mean? And that goes to your point, right? When we talking about language and stuff like that. And because when I first started writing, I didn't use, I didn't cuss or have him say shit or something like this right here, But she like, what? But this dude, he from New York and he's doing this right here. He's on the street. This is what he gonna say. This is what he gonna say when he's talking to somebody. So you have to keep this character true. You know what I mean? Unless you unless you have, gave me a solid reason. Like his dad
Yes.
taught him never to cuss, and so he's a guy
Right.
who never cuss and never drinks, and
Right.
then that's his thing. And then you stay true to that throughout the entire book. Okay, then I'll believe it. But you can't have me believing that this gangster mixed up in this world like this doesn't drink, whatever,
Right.
or whatever the case may be. You got to stay
Right.
true to the person.
You
And
guys
it's
stay to the
funny.
person. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't have a Lamar out here looking like he's a cyborg. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you can shoot him, run over him with a tractor. You know what I'm saying? He gonna come back, and then all of a sudden he beating fools up. Yeah, I mean, I told somebody the other day, I said, we was talking about how snowfall. We was on a group chat talking about how not snowfall, but how BMF fell off the rails. And I said, shit, Lamar can't fuck, but he can fuck niggas up. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand that.
That's funny.
You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, he's struggling. He can't even hardly walk. Next thing you know, he beat the shit out of somebody, pouring a shit bag on him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't wrap my brain around that. Now the dude's a cyborg like the Terminator. You know what I'm saying? No. Like you could have. That's lazy to me. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to do that to have. You could have added another rival character or something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so we coming
I
to
felt,
the end here, man. As an artist, bro, as a writer,
Mhm.
who are some of the like either male or female writers who, when you read their stuff, you say to yourself, man, that person can write.
well, like I told you, Sister Soldier was one of my original people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the late great Eric Jerome Dickey, man.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his work, man, and how he pieced together these great storylines and stuff like that. I like another artist named Kamika Spencer. She's Texas. I don't know if you ever read her, man, but she got this great book called "He Had It Coming." It's the craziest story I ever heard, man. You know what I'm saying? It's about
Okay.
this about a guy who's like another arrogant guy who kind of is a misogynist,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these women are going to kidnap him and teach him a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
That's to tell you all you need to know. You know what I'm saying? These women gonna kidnap, four women gonna kidnap him and hold him until they can teach him how the right way to treat a woman. It's a crazy story. I love that one. Uh, like Zane, you know, it depends on. And here's the thing, and I'm much like you, right? I read a lot of nonfiction more than I read fiction. I don't read a lot
Mm-hmm.
of fiction. I
Mm-hmm.
read a lot of biographies.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do
if
too.
my if my
I
book
do too. I love biographies. I just love storytelling. I love hearing about people's lives and how they came from, A to B. Same way with documentaries and stuff like that because it's storytelling.
Mhm. And so that's where I kind of got the idea of humanizing people and stuff like this, man, was more from the biography style, right? And because I become, kind of this true crime aficionado, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my thing. It's true crime, man. I go to sleep every night watching forensic files and shit, Look,
I always say that.
I didn't see every
Everyone.
Law and Order. I didn't see every Law and Order over 2 decades, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Okay. Rest in peace, Munch. Okay, right.
yeah, rest in peace, Mud. Yeah. I didn't watch Law and Order, man. So I didn't watch all the true crime, all these type of shows, man. And people always be like, man, well, why did he do it? What's going on in his head? How can you make sense of that? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I wanted to make sense of that, and so those are the kind of stories that I have, kind of evolved to, kind of tilted towards, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, uh, I like those. I like those particular authors and stuff like that. Elin Harris, Omar Tyree.
Mm-hmm. Did you read Nathan McCall's What's Going On?
Never.
Well, that was the second one. His first one was Makes Me Want to Holler.
What's it? So is that science fiction too?
No, that's a biography of his own. Nathan McCall Makes Me Want to Holler. That was his first book. It's a good one. You want to check that one out.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to put that on my list. You got to text me these books, man, so I can
I
remember
will.
them.
Same way for you, man. Yeah, that one and a piece of cake. Yeah, a piece of cake is gonna blow your mind because it's not fiction, but oh my god, if it was a movie, it's incredible. The sister is
The
incredible.
last one I was reading was Paul Mooney. He has or White is the New Black, and it's just about him and Richard Pryor's ascension through Hollywood in the '70s and stuff, and
Really, I didn't know Paul had a book.
yeah, it's pretty good, man. It's pretty salty. Any book that's gonna have Richard Pryor, is gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be out there, man. Like I have his too. Omit the Logic.
Oh, Mythologic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw the TV series or whatever it was, the documentary it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So before we let you get out of here, man, so I was talking to your wife, man, and I was just asking her, to kind of spill a little tea on you, bro, behind your back and everything. And one of the things she told me, man, it really cracked me up is that you really know, apparently, you are like the man for sitcom jingles.
I'm stunned that she would tell you that, man. And it is true. You know what, Chris, man? I don't know why. Every damn sitcom I've ever watched, I know the damn theme song to it. Every last damn one, man, from the Jeffersons, you know what I'm saying?
All right.
Good
All right.
times.
So go on and bless us with the facts of life, because that's the one I sang to her yesterday.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. I can't believe I'm even singing facts of life, man. You could have gave me a black song to sing, man.
Well, everybody know the Jeffersons, and everybody know good
Just
times.
sit back, and I tell you a tale of a faithful trip that started off this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. Five passengers set sail that day for a 3 hour tour. A 3 hour tour. You know what I'm saying? I know all these ridiculous ass songs, man, and they, hey, it's Fat Albert, and I'm gonna sing a song for
All right,
you.
put that big finger up there. Bill's gonna tell you a thing or two. We're
Man, I knew I
having fun now with me and all the gang,
was laughing
learning
with
from
each
each
other
other
while we
while we
do
do
our
our thing. So, do you know all the Schoolhouse Rock too?
I used to, man. Like they used to have this they used to have all these theme songs for if don't do this, don't do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the power lines got the blues cause they're feeling
Mm-hmm.
down. We got the blues cause we're feeling down. And
Mm-hmm.
when the lines are down, don't you hang around. When we're down, don't hang around. You know what I'm saying? I just know all these songs, man. All these damn songs.
Did you see a HBO show called Dream On back in the day?
No,
They
man.
used to.
We ain't
It
have
was a
to.
guy. It was a guy. They'd sit him. It started to show off. They show when it first come on. They show him sitting in front of a TV. His parents set him in front of the TV for all his life, and then as the progression goes, you see him kind of growing up, and he's still watching TV. So everything, like as he goes through life, he'll have a conversation, and then a scene from a TV show or a cartoon will pop in his head,
Yeah.
and that would be the comedy of it. It was a genius show. It was on HBO years and years and years ago called Dream On.
I might have to check that out, man. I never heard of that, man. This is like 80s, 90s, what?
It might have been late 80s, early 90s.
Oh yeah, we broke back then, man. We had no, we didn't have no HBO money, man. We were changing the TV set with a pair of pliers. You know, you like the
Yeah,
dials come
buddy.
off. Yeah, take them pliers and turn the TV set like
Hey,
that.
wait a
Turn.
minute. What about this? What I don't know. Did your mama call you from one room to the other to come change the channel?
Hell yeah, hell yeah. That's the only reason I miss having kids right now, man. Man, I can go make me a sandwich and bring me some water, something like that. Just
Bro, my mom, I
like
used to
Craig
go
on
in there, man.
Friday.
My mama would be like, okay, turn the channel. I'd be like, okay, stop. Hold on.
Yeah, you got to sit there through the commercials.
Okay, nah, I don't want to watch it. Turn again. Hey man, young people
Yeah,
would never know that life, would they?
man. That's something that, like you said, you telling your age on that, man. That's from a old forgotten era, man. Kids turning them channels like that.
Yeah, man. So yo, man, I want to thank you so much for joining us, brother Scott. Man, again, your books are great. I want to tell the people again, let them know, man. Start with all your works that are on. You can get them on Amazon.com right now, man. Tell them about the work that you got right now, where they can get it.
Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you where you can reach out to me at, man. Because of course I'm on Facebook, so
Mhm.
anybody that want to connect with me there, I'm on there. It's facebook.com/novels by Omar. You go to that address, man. You link up with me, my friend, man. You can see anything I got going on. You can DM me, man. I'll respond to anybody. and you can, and I got all the links there too. But and so I'm on there, man. I'm on Goodreads, goodreads.com/author Omar Scott. You can find me there, and then you can also go on. You can also buy the book on Amazon.com, and I have a author page there. That's Amazon.com/author/Omar Scott. And if you go there, you can purchase the book in the Kindle edition. You can get it for free if you're a Kindle Plus member. You know what I'm saying? And or you can buy that old school paperback.
That old
You know.
school paperback. You can
Yeah.
dog ear it. When you're in the middle, you can dog ear it.
Yeah, and so Loyal to the Fault was my latest book, the one that we were talking about with Charles Pia and Dez, and set in New York City, and it's a deadly love triangle where a guy's who lost his friend Dez, and he's a member of the DEA. He's trying to find this mysterious cartel leader who killed him, and the one person who's a link to all of this is Pia, who happens to be the girlfriend of the biggest drug dealer in New York, who has connections to the very man that my man Dez is looking for, man. So I mean, it's a very interesting book. Like you said, it's got all kind of tentacles, And I'm a theme writer, right? So every book that I write has a theme to it, And so this one right here is let it go. Whatever's bothering you, man, whatever happened in the past, whatever issues that happened before, man, you can let that shit go. And you can keep it moving forward, man. That was my grandma's favorite saying to me, man. Keep on stepping forward. Let it go. Keep moving.
Mm.
Don't get bogged down in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hell of a lesson that in reading the book that you learned, that kind of touched my heart, And I can tell you guys, one of the reasons why you want to read Omar's work is because, again, as a person who absolutely loves art, who loves storytelling, reading his books, like it's a whole motion picture in my head. So I'm seeing colors. I see what Chops looks like. I see what Pia looks like, Dez, the streets, the cars, the atmosphere, like everything comes alive in this brother's writing. So even though you're reading the pages, it's still like a movie. It's still like a motion picture. And, again, you care about the character. So it's a really brilliant job, man. Well done. I think you're getting better and better as you go. I love your imagination. I love your thought process.
Thank
It's
you.
very awesome, man. Much respect, brother. Much respect. And so I want to thank you for blessing us, man, by coming on the show, man. Uh, Appreciate you. And anything else you want to leave us with, bro?
No, man, I'm just appreciating, man, that you had me on here, man. Much love to everybody who's watching. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Once again, brother, like I was telling you before, man, thank you for your patience because it took me a while. I work, I ref, got a lot going on. So it took me some time to get to it, brother. But I promise you, as I gave you my word is gold. We family. So, I always got your back, brother. I'm gonna support you in whatever you do.
I appreciate that, man.
All right, man. Y'all, you stay true, you stay cool, and be safe. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us again on the For Real Though show. Y'all stay safe out here. We'll be back with another show soon. All right. Stay safe. Peace.